Hi guys, my name's Marcel, and again, today you're gonna learn how to draw like a sir. Today's video will teach you all about lights and shadows, no matter if you're a beginner or maybe a bit more advanced. You know, I uploaded this very video on my German channel a while ago, and it was so popular that it was being shown in German schools all over the country. And apparently for some people it's also even assigned as homework there. So, sorry about that, I guess. Either way, I'm really confident this video will help you out with the basics when it comes to light and shadow. I'm super proud of how it turned out back in the day, and if you want to help this English channel grow more, please support it by liking the video and even subscribing to it. But let's finally get into the meat of things. I'm gonna teach you about the basics of light and shadow and how to draw it. So, let's go. As I said, we'll start off with the very basics of light and shadow so that every one of you is up to par. I think all of you know how light basically works, right? On one hand, we've got the bright side lit by the lamp, on the other, we've got the dark side with all the shadows on it. Now, that's the very foundation of it. So now we can get a bit more into detail. Cause what you might not know is that the shadow fades over time. It doesn't stay constant or something. I know, that might sound absurd, but it's true nonetheless. But why is that so? Now I'm gonna sum it up in 2 words: bounce light. And yes, it's exactly what you think it is. Light bounces off of surfaces. That's why the light nearby also hits the darker parts of the ball right here, lighting up the shadow in the process. Now where it really gets interesting is when you notice that light takes the color of whatever it bounces off of. So, for example, if you'd have a blue object nearby, everything around it gets a slightly blue tint if the light is strong enough. Yeah, you might have wondered why artists draw their portraits with little specks of a completely out of place color. That might seem odd if you first look at it. But now you know why they do that. It's not wrong, it's quite the opposite actually. It makes your artwork more believable and takes it to the next level. Now if you're new to all of this, this might have totally blown your mind. I know mine surely was, but I think it's important to also experience this phenomenon in real life to truly get the hang out of it. So, let's watch this. Yeah, nothing's happening right now, I'm aware. But look what happens when I hold my green folder nearby this Premiere ball. Without any colored bulb or LED, you can color objects in any color you desire. Now I think that's totally nuts, because I've never noticed it before I actively started drawing. Okay, now if you don't have any more questions, then let's head on to the last very simple, very short lesson. And the lesson in question is that light doesn't always have hard edges. Now, even though we have a pretty strong light here, you don't see hard edges, you just see a smooth one. It's more like a gradient, right? And this gradient is the so-called terminator. Awesome, and before we apply this knowledge, let's just recap what we've learned until now. When it comes to light and dark, we have our light side and we have our shadowy dark side. However, there's still bounce light coming in so the shadow doesn't stay constant. And also don't forget that the ball itself also has a drop shadow, just so we're clear on that. Plus the drop shadow has a part where it's the darkest, so that would be right at the beginning. That's the so-called occlusion shadow. Now on the light side we have our light center, and depending on the surface you might have little highlights as well. Now the last thing to add is of course our terminator, no not that one, and we basically have everything you need to know about the topic in one picture. Oh, I'm serious, this is basically it. You now know everything about the basics to make light and shadow work. So please, go ahead and screenshot this, maybe you'll need it as a reference sometime. Or alternatively, you could just rewatch this video, I mean, I'd be grateful for it. Okay, but now let's try to apply this theory on a finished artwork. Let's start with the simple cel-shaded one. We've got our light center, after that our bright and halftones, our regular shadows, and also bounce light. Here we have hard edges, so it's pretty easy to decide which part belongs where, but now let's try it on a real photograph. So let's see if there's still everything in place. We've got our light center, halftones and highlights, the shadow side with the Terminator on the forehead, and also bounce light coming from the left. Now you might think that this video is basically over, and it pretty much is, but I think what I'm about to say will help you out a lot if you're still new to all of this. And you know what? I'm pretty damn sad, to be honest. Because like I said back at the beginning of the video, the German version of this very video is shown in all kinds of schools all over Germany. Which at first I thought was pretty neat, right? But then people started reaching out to me, also via my Twitch live stream, and they told me that their art teachers usually just turn the video off right at this very point. They show the classroom all the neat graphics and animation that took me days to make, but they don't want to tell them the most important thing of them all. Of course, everything I've told you until now in this video is accurate, but to what degree you shade your drawings is still up to you, at least in my opinion. On the one hand, there's artists taking it all into account, you know, everything, like bounce lights, shadows, highlight and whatnot, and there are artists that just like to keep their shading a bit more simple. Just because one is more detailed and the other one isn't, doesn't mean that one's right and one's wrong. It's your art, and you should draw it the way you want it to look. It's important to know the theory behind all of it, but it's also more important to create art that you yourself like. And if there's any chance that this video with my broken ass English gets shown in any classroom ever, make sure your teacher also shows this part of the video. Because I've seen enough people lose interest in art just because their teacher didn't tell them the most important thing of it all. It's not that your shading or your artwork has to be the most detailed, you yourself have to like it, even if you just want to draw it a bit more simple. And art, after all, is subjective, right? Now, sorry for the rambling, the video itself is officially over. I just had a bit of trouble to get my point across. I'm sorry for that. If you have interest in it, check out my other tutorials, just like this video. They are also animated, so they are easy to learn from. And if you haven't, subscribe and join my crew. I'd be glad to have you on board. So, my name's Marcel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.